I'm Britta Wyatt. I'm a managing consultant at Oxentia. I recently attended PraxisAuril's annual conference, which is the coming together of professionals to support knowledge exchange, commercialization, business engagement in universities. I've been on the conference planning committee for a couple years now. So the way that the PraxisAuril conference comes together is that there's a conference chair, there's the members of the association itself, and then a group of volunteers who come together to help set the themes and prepare the agenda, review abstracts, and contribute to building a program. And then on the day, we actually also help to chair sessions and kind of work with the speakers. So there were a couple different things I was involved in with the conference this year. I happened to also separately be involved in one of PraxisAuril's special interest groups, or SIGs. So the one that I'm involved in is called the Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, Business Engagement, Knowledge Exchange, and Commercialization SIG. So it's a long mouthful of a title. But this group is one that gets together every few months, maybe twice a year actually, and put together a program of knowledge sharing, presentations, and speakers. It's free to anyone to join, but it's sponsored by the PraxisAuril Association. So on the first day of the conference, I was part of organizing that and co-hosting that session along with my other co-chairs, of which there are several. So then on day 2, I was involved in giving a presentation on behalf of the Aspect Network and what we've learned about good practice in SHAPE commercialization. SHAPE stands for Social Sciences, Humanities, and the Arts for People in the Environment. So this is looking at sort of the non-science, math, technology disciplines and how universities can better support research commercialization from those academic areas. So the presentation was taking some of the insights from this network, which Oxentia provides program management support for, and sharing what the group of 30+ institutions have learned about this topic. We had a really packed room, so that was fantastic. Obviously, there was a lot of interest from the attendees in the topic. I was joined by some other colleagues who were also kind of sharing their experiences. One of the other Aspect members from the University of Bristol shared about one of the Aspect-funded projects that they're working on to provide a new way of offering support to their academics by pooling together resources from different member institutions and creating this shared offering. The other panelist that joined us was from the ESRC and bringing the funders' perspective on the talks that we gave on the day. So the Aspect program is a network of now 30+ universities and other organizations. Originally, it was started by 7 founding members who were given funding from Research England's Connecting Capability Fund back in 2018. And the members had come together to try and figure out what good practice looks like in social sciences commercialization. Since that original founding of the project, that's been extended to include other disciplines such as humanities and the arts. And the way in which the members have been exploring that topic is through different activities that include a program of funded activity and a call for proposals, communities of practice where different professional services teams come together to share and exchange kind of their challenges and what they're learning and doing, different events for members to get involved in, and then the production of over 200 resources, toolkits, and reports that are disseminated on the Aspect website and in kind of other in-person events and forums. Oxentia provides the program management support to the Aspect Network. So we joined the team in about 2019 and we're involved in helping the governing groups to design the program of activity and then to create the channels for dissemination, strategy, etc. In the early days, my role was what we called the learning manager. So, and as the learning manager, I was responsible for gathering the learnings from the members and producing an annual learning report. Also, as a follow-up to that, creating what is now the Aspect Toolkit, which you can find on the website. So the presentation that I was giving was really drawing on the learnings from the members, from the network, and those outputs that we'd created over the last few years. I think one of the topics that comes up a lot when we talk about commercializing the outputs of social science research is how do we get social scientists, and apologies, I keep saying social scientists because that was the original scope of Aspect, and now it's evolved to include humanities and arts, or the shape disciplines. But I guess when I'm saying social sciences, I mean all of it. But coming back to that point, one of the challenges that we have found from the network is just getting and attracting interest from social science and other shape academics. So making them aware that commercialization is something that's relevant to them, that it's possible for them, and that it's beneficial to them and their research. So that process of kind of engaging academics and trying to find the right language for getting them interested in this in the first place has been one of the challenges that the Aspect Network's been tackling. One of the points that was raised, or the questions that was raised, is whether or not it's right for us to be trying to avoid the word commercialization. Should we be owning that word and using it more, or is it okay to try and soften the language a little bit? And we had a bit of a debate on that. I think to some degree we do want to be able to own that term and embrace that term and get academics to embrace it, but you need to get people interested in the first place. And if it's not a term they're familiar with, you need to kind of maybe introduce that at a little bit of a later date and use language that's more accessible and more inclusive in the earlier stages. But another topic that I thought was pretty interesting was the suggestion that maybe we're wrong to be using the traditional commercialization model as the straw man for social sciences, humanities, and arts commercialization. Maybe we need to be kind of looking a bit more broadly at other ways to be doing this that are better suited to those disciplines. I think there's something to be said for that when you look at kind of what success looks like, and realizing that yes, even with traditional commercialization from sciences and maths and technology-based innovations, yes, even those don't always generate loads of income for the university, and even those have their challenges, and that's true. We don't want to kind of kid ourselves on that. So maybe there's more just an openness to thinking about how that model can be adapted or can be readjusted to be more applicable, rather than throwing it out. The first challenge is just getting interest and attracting interest, and kind of creating a culture where this is acceptable and exciting both to the academics, but also to the key decision makers and stakeholders that set strategy and policy and promotion pathways and all of that. They need to be bought into this. The next challenge is your team and the team that's supporting this. So normally commercialization process would sit within a team in the university that tends to, traditionally anyway, have a model focused on patenting and licensing. And one of the things that the Aspect members have noticed is that commercialization projects from shape disciplines look a little bit different, and very rarely do they have patents associated with them. So figuring out how to bring those innovations to market looks a little bit different. And while I think in the longer term we are starting to understand what the archetypes are for those routes to market, right now we're still kind of learning as we go and upskilling our teams to understand what that good process and good practice looks like to bring those ideas forward. So, for example, rather than having a technology, device, molecule, whatever it is, you might end up having an innovation that looks like a questionnaire, or looks like a game, or looks like a methodology, or some training materials, or something like that. So you're going to take that forward in a potentially different way, and you need to kind of learn what that process looks like and learn how to support the academics as a professional services team in maybe a different way. The other activity I was involved in at the conference was chairing a session on student knowledge exchange. So this was a panel session. We had 3 presenters from different institutions that were sharing innovative ways that they are supporting students to do knowledge exchange. And then we had a Q&A at the end. The reason this topic is interesting is that student knowledge exchange doesn't usually fit within the remit of the professional services teams that attend the PraxisAuril conference. More often than not, they are supporting the academics. And the theme that was coming out of this session was noting there's an opportunity for us as support organizations to learn from the student enterprise teams and the student knowledge exchange teams, and to realize that there's more opportunities to work together and that the work that they're doing actually benefits the work that these other teams are doing. So it's really interesting to hear how these different university teams are applying innovative approaches to working with students, to allowing them to do consultancy, internships, work placements, and how some of these are even becoming income generation streams for the university as well as the students themselves. I think people were very excited to get together in person again after 3 years. I remember when we started planning this in 2020, I remember saying in March, oh, I'm sure by June, the conference will go ahead, no problem. And, over 2 years later, it did finally go ahead. In the meantime, we had some great online events through PraxisAuril and through the special interest group. But yes, I think people were pretty excited to be there. It was one of the best attended conferences they've ever had, so that says something. And they had some really great opportunities for people to not only learn from the sessions, but to meet each other and to network and chat. And we had, I think, 45 minutes for coffee breaks and networking breaks, which really shows kind of that that's important to the audience and that it was a priority. And even with 45 minutes, you were scrambling to finish your chats at the end of that. So yeah, it was really fun. It was great to see people that we haven't seen in a long time and to catch up.